Hey, what's up, everybody? Good afternoon. Hey, I'm just going to do a quick video about a conference that's going to be taking place next weekend, and I want as many people to attend as possible. Now, the host of the conference is Gage, formerly of Architects and Engineers, and he's running a 9/11. Oh, I forgot the name of it all of a sudden now. Unleashed, 9/11 Unleashed. And his website is richardgage911.org. I'm going to post this at the bottom of the description box. Now, Rich Gage is probably shocked to hear that I'm actually promoting the conference. Well, only because I want the serious researchers to take a look at what is going to happen, what's going on regarding this conference. And the conference is long. It's 10 hours. I'm going to share the screen and show you here as we speak. As you could see, this is the 9/11 Con, the Pentagon, 9/11 Con. And there's the names: Thierry, Messean, Barbara Honegger, Craig McKee, Adam Ruff, David Chandler, Wayne Coste. 4 researchers, 4 theories. 4 theories, right? And as you can see, Saturday, March 19th, 10 a.m., 10 p.m. Pacific time, which will be 7 a.m., 7 p.m. Eastern. You didn't care to mention that. 9/11 attack, resulting disinformation from our government and media, but it was actually disinformation from the truth movement on top of it, more so than the government and media. And I know he's not mentioning that because Richard Gage believes in many of the fringe conspiracy theories, and so do many of those people. Have fostered a plethora of speculation and theories with consequent confusion and frustration in the 9/11 truth movement in the last 20 years. No, that came from you. That came from the truth movement. That didn't come from the media. The media ignored the actual anomalies of 9/11. They didn't report it, like extra hijackers, extra planes. No, because you guys don't believe in hijackers or even planes for that matter. These are the theories. No plane hit the Pentagon, a plane hit the Pentagon, a plane flew over the Pentagon, a missile hit the Pentagon, pre-placed explosives racked the Pentagon. It was a combination of the above. No. See, I don't care about competing theories and beliefs, right? I only care about evidence. The people who were there also are plane hit the Pentagon. All this is relevant. End of story. So, Rich Gage says, we brought together prominent experts in one place at one time. And there they are. Let me blow up the picture so that you can see. There they are, right? So I'm going to be playing the trailer videos regarding Thierry, Messean, Craig McKee, Adam Ruff, and Barbara Honegger, not Chandler and Coste, because Chandler and Coste are outnumbered once again, 4-2 in the conference. I believe Wayne Coste actually had a debate with McKee and Adam Ruff in a conference with all no-planers as the vote. That's why he lost 19-0. But Coste didn't lose. He brought evidence. These guys don't. And I'm going to explain their position as well as Messean's and Honegger's in this video. So as you can see, this is basically just a conference that's going to reiterate many of the fringe conspiracies that have beset the 9/11 truth movement for 21 years. And I'm going to play some of the trailers because he had trailers. You can see there's trailers here. So, okay. Now, first on the list is Barbara Honegger. And she's a co-chair of the board of directors for the Lawyers Committee for 9/11 Inquiry. Why? I don't know. I don't know why. But she's not speaking on behalf of the Lawyers Committee at this conference because some people in the Lawyers Committee don't find her position tenable. So she's going to propose that multiple explosions from pre-placed explosives, not due to a plane impact, and a plane, not Flight 77, destroyed at or near the helipad. That's a lot. So let's play her video first, and then
Barbara, why is this conference so important? And welcome to Richard Gage 9/11.
Thank you so much, Richard. Yes, well, given the current geopolitical context, it turns out that this conference couldn't be happening at a more important time. And why is that? What is that geopolitical context? The geopolitical context, of course, is the recent invasion of Ukraine by Russia. And what is the link between that and 9/11? The key words, the three key words are NATO, NATO, and NATO. And why is NATO so important to both 9/11 and what we have experienced in the world since February 24th, when the invasion of Ukraine happened? Most people don't know, but the very first and still to this day, despite what's happening now, only time that NATO invoked Article 5, which is the Mutual Defense Clause or article of the NATO treaty, was in response to the attacks of 9/11. And we have heard in the press over and over after 9/11 that that was the day everything changed. And for over 20 years, we haven't heard it again until just recently with the attack on Ukraine. And what is the attack on Ukraine? What's really important about that? The big question is, will Putin and Russia go beyond Ukraine, which is not a NATO member, into even a single NATO country, even over to the border of a single country, which our President Biden, has made clear that he will defend, and NATO will defend every square inch of every single NATO member. And if that happens, we are talking about a world war again. So why does the conference, why is it so important? It's so important because the truth about what happened on 9/11 and the lies about who attacked our country on 9/11 and the excuse for going into Iraq and the excuse for going into Afghanistan, in Putin's speech on early the morning of February 24th, just before the invasion of Ukraine started, in that speech, Putin referred to then Secretary of State Colin Powell holding up that vial of white powder, which was supposed to represent military-grade anthrax and remind people of the anthrax attacks, which were directly related to 9/11. And he basically said, well, the United States has done this. The United States and NATO have used lies as a pretext to invade other countries and destroy them. And so he's trying to have to say, well, you did it, so we can do it too. So
well, thank you for putting this into context.
yeah.
That gives us an even greater position in the world stage at 9/11
Right.
Con.
That's right.
You know what the sad thing is that Barbara Honegger is not taken seriously at all by anyone outside of the 9/11 truth movement. I mean, really, she's not even brought up anymore. She hasn't been relevant since the early 1990s, October surprise surrounding Iran-Contra affair under President Reagan. I mean, this woman basically just comes out of nowhere and basically enters the 9/11 truth movement because she worked at some level in the State Department. She's taken seriously. And she proposes all these miraculous and sometimes even fanatical theories about 9/11 that the 9/11 truth movement, who don't do any type of research whatsoever, the majority of them fell victim to these people. And the 9/11 truth leaders at that time didn't do any, vetting of their own. They allowed anybody to come into the group and basically represent them. And what people like Honegger do is that they come out unchecked. So their theories are not checked by anybody. Oh, look, a lack of plane debris at the Pentagon. That means no plane hit the Pentagon. Oh, let's talk to the eyewitnesses. Yeah, let's talk to the eyewitnesses inside the building that weren't outside the building. So Honegger's theory about a white plane crashing at the heliport doesn't match with the evidence. There was no white plane. Nobody saw a white plane. And yes, the impact is near the heliport. That's where the wing hit. And Sean Boger, who's actually a fireman near the heliport, there's a fire station right near the heliport, small one, where Fort Myer firemen, 3 of them were near the fire truck, had to duck under the cars near the parking lot at the Pentagon. which is right adjacent to the wall, and then you have the lawn. They had to duck because the plane was coming right at them. And everybody saw a plane. I mean, we have 86 witnesses who basically saw a plane. Half of them saw American Airlines. And there's debris all over the lawn inside the Pentagon. Over 2,000 federal, state, and local investigators descended on the scene within minutes. Fairfax and Montgomery counties. I mean, Arlington Fire Department, Fort Myer, Fort Belvoir. I mean, all these people basically were helping in the search and rescue that basically picked up pieces of the plane, and nobody heard a bomb. Nobody. I mean, there is no bomb explosion. People who were in the building said it sounded like a bomb because they didn't know what hit the plane, hit the building, and it was a plane. You'll notice that Barbara Honegger never refers to any of the eyewitnesses in her lecture behind the smoke curtain on the outside. And when she does mention, I think like two of them, she misconstrues their statements. I mean, I've done countless videos on this. I even interviewed the Pentagon incident commander and Arlington Fire Chief James Schwartz on my podcast, The Darkened Hour, where I interviewed him and talked about these issues with him. And he just throws his hands up and says, I don't know what to tell you with these people. So, okay, that's it for Barbara Honegger. And Barbara Honegger is going first. So that means not many people are going to be awake for this stuff. So if they are, they're going to be groggy, and which is actually a good thing. The next up is, I think, going second in regards to the conference is going to be none other than Thierry Messean. Here's the originator of no plane hitting the Pentagon and that it was a missile. He wrote a book called Le Pentcon and 9/11, The Big Lie. All came out in 2002. And he's a French intellectual, in which he's going second. A missile struck the Pentagon. The missile that nobody saw. So let's hear. Now, he speaks French, doesn't speak English, and so helping with the translation is 9/11 Truth Advocate and part of the architects and engineers, Sandra Jalami. So what I'm going to do is play that video, and then I'll talk about it in a bit with you.
What evidence will you be discussing at 9/11 Con on March 19th relative to what did or didn't hit the Pentagon?
La première réaction était visuelle. Quand on a observé le Pentagone ce jour-là, il n'y avait pas de place pour qu'un avion pénètre dans le Pentagone. Donc, ça, simplement, regarder les vidéos, les photos, c'est évident qu'il n'y a pas d'avion.
Okay, so the first point of evidence is really just visual, because when you look at all the pictures and everything that's been recorded, there is no way that a plane would fit into what was shown to have been the space that would have required for the Pentagon for the plane to fit. So.
And the second?
Après ça, il y a énormément de petits détails. Premièrement, les agences de presse ont parlé de 2 explosions successives et d'une évacuation du Pentagone entre les 2 explosions avant de parler d'un avion détourné.
So the agence de presse first spoke of 2 explosions that took place before they ever spoke of an airplane hitting the building. So those were the first reports that were released immediately after the events.
Oh, and there was word about a missile somewhere. Is that correct?
Non. Sur le moment, je n'ai pas trouvé, ce qui était pourtant évident, je n'ai pas remarqué le fait que l'explosion qui a eu lieu dans le Pentagone ne peut pas avoir été provoquée par un avion, parce que les caractéristiques de l'explosion sont complètement différentes.
I said the characteristics of the explosion are completely different from anything that would have been explained by a plane.
Okay.
So there you have it, right? So yeah, Thierry Messean, a missile impacted the Pentagon other than the plane, and the characteristics of the damage fits the missile theory. Yeah, no, nobody saw a missile. 86 people saw a plane, as well as the debris, which was noticeable on the outside and the inside of the building. Missile doesn't do a 360 corkscrew turn, and it doesn't hit 5 light poles. I'm sorry. You know, why is this man even at the conference? Why is Richard Gage entertaining this? Right? You want to have to ask yourself, if you're in the truth movement at this point, you're not asking questions about these people, well, then you have fell victim to these people many years prior. And you don't want to believe that planes could be hijacked and planes were crashing everywhere because you've been told repetitively, constantly for the last 21 years that that's the official narrative. And that's part of the official narrative, but it's evident. Not everything in the official narrative is false. You've been led to believe that the 9/11 Commission report and the official narrative from the government, everything about it is false. Barbara Honegger works at the State Department. She used to. You believe her. Thierry Messean wasn't even there on 9/11. Why do you believe him? Why don't you ask the people who were there? I did. It wasn't too hard. I'm a nobody. I reached out to the Pentagon incident commander. He's never had an interview with a 9/11 truther before, or anybody in the movement whatsoever. I'm not a 9/11 truther. I'm a researcher. But I'm honest enough to go where the evidence is. I ask questions. You guys don't. Why don't you? Isn't it high time we do? Just because you believe a plane, just because you may think that a plane being hijacked and crashing into the Pentagon is supporting that, that's it? That's the end of the official narrative? No. Who were those people on that plane? Khalid al-Mihdhar and Nawaf Osby were 2 of them. Why don't we check to see what their background is about? Who were following those 2 guys? And who didn't tell the FBI and State Department about them living inside the United States? They were living with an FBI informant in San Diego. They were being monitored by the NSA and the CIA, but they didn't tell the FBI. All of this doesn't matter because you don't believe in hijackers, because you don't know how to go backwards. You only know how to stay put in a state of paralysis. And that's the problem with belief. So, last but not least, right, we come up to these guys. Theory C, no 757 at the Pentagon. Craig McKee and Adam Ruff. At least with Honegger and Messean, they got work to show for it, right? Books, conferences. These guys don't. One has a blog, which is dead, and the other one, kaputs. Hasn't been relevant since the Clinton administration. I don't know what to tell you other than these 2 guys should never, ever lead a conference. Why Gage is actually inviting them is beyond me. And that's because Gage himself doesn't believe a plane at the Pentagon. And that's the reason why this is a 4-on-2. And most people going to this conference are no planers anyway. So, I mean, if they're going to do it a vote, they're going to do a vote by leaving it to the people. Well, Chandler and Coste are going to lose because most people follow the works of Honegger and some with Messean and hardly any with these 2 guys. I have no idea why these 2 guys are even talking, but I'm going to play the video regarding what they're going to say, and here, you listen.
Hey, doing good. Tell us about what you're going to be covering at the conference.
Well, this is Craig McKee speaking, just in case you you don't have my picture there, but in our presentation, we're going to be focusing on the evidence that points to a staged, faked plane crash at the Pentagon. And we'll be looking also at the significant evidence that contradicts the idea that Flight 77 itself hit the Pentagon. We're going to look at the eyewitness evidence, particularly that puts the plane on a north path that makes it impossible for the plane to have created the damage path that is alleged to be a damage path. One of the most important witnesses we're going to look at more closely is Lloyd England, who's the cab driver who claims that his cab was impaled by the long base of the first pole that was alleged to have been hit by Flight 77. We're going to look at his account, and we're just going to show how it's absolutely impossible. And along with looking at some of the arguments that defend England's account and why those claims are problematic, to say the least. We'll also look at the allegations that the damage to the building supports the idea of a 757 crash, which we think the evidence for that is just not there. So that's kind of the gist, I guess, of what we'll be saying.
I'm looking forward to seeing that. What about you, Adam?
Well, as Craig was saying, kind of the centerpiece of our evidence is the witnesses to the north of Citgo flight path. And those witnesses were all interviewed very carefully and with great attention to detail by the citizen investigation team. And what they discovered is all these witnesses are in agreement on the flight path that the plane took as it approached the Pentagon. And they all place it north of the Citgo gas station. And the only problem for the official story that arises from this testimony is that the damage located at the Pentagon is impossible to have occurred if the plane was on that north path. So these witnesses directly contradict the official story. So we'll be talking about that.
Wow, I don't know what to say. I mean, these two guys actually go by the CIT theory that a plane flew over the Pentagon. Why these guys are given any serious attention by Richard Gage, it really beyond me. Anybody in the truth movement should be able to dismiss all these people I showed you today because they're not coming with any evidence. And by the way, the irony of their statement and CIT is that all the eyewitnesses who claimed that there was a north path, by the way, they never said it was a north path. That's what CIT says they said, but they didn't say that. They all say a plane crashed into the Pentagon. Their own eyewitnesses say this. So yeah, these guys belong in oblivion, right? I don't care about them having freedom of speech. I'm for that. One thing I don't believe is restriction of speech, limiting speech. I want these people out in the open so we could say, hey, look, these guys are not representing the truth movement honestly. And they're not. But I want everybody to go to the conference. I want everyone to see what this is about, because one thing is for certain is that Chandler and Coste have evidence for their statements. But the truth movement is the conference. What's important here is it's not the participants, right? It's evidence versus lack thereof, belief versus knowledge, fact versus fiction. Can you discern between the two honestly, independently? And that's going to be up to the viewer, the listener, up to you, those who are in the truth movement, who are left, who have a rational and honest integrity about themselves. If you're just going to come into the conference basically saying Chandler and Coste are shills, and I don't care what they have to say, well, then you personally, this doesn't benefit you, the conference. It only reinforces your belief. But you can't go to court with belief. You can't go to the real world with belief and make a difference. The only thing you could do is keep the belief alive by telling other people what you heard and learned from other people, not by independent investigation and using the scientific method to test that hypothesis. Because if you did, and you did that honestly, you don't have belief, you have knowledge. And this is the reason why the truth movement has failed, all of us, for the last 21 years. Because for 21 years, they are still trying to, they're still debating whether planes were hijacked and whether actual planes crashed where they were on 9/11. 21 years later, and these people still exist in the movement rather than oblivion where they belong. Conference is next week. Be there. I'll be there probably by the mid-afternoon watching half of it or something. It's a long conference. You don't have to be there for the whole thing, but 10, I mean, what is it, 12, 10 hours, 12 hours? 12 hours to debate whether a plane hit the Pentagon or whether a hijacked plane hit the Pentagon. My God, the truth movement's dead.